curious about laparoscopy machinery. Maybe you can tell us what that is as you kick off.
Okay, thank you so much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I see Madam Women Rep here today. It's really good to see you. And I'm very glad that you're here for today's conversation. I will say that viewers' discretion on my slides, but I'll try to be as gentle as possible. I'm very glad that my senior, Dr. Murage, opened the arena for us. And it's very important for us to hear and empower the woman. I think this is something I'm very, very grateful for, and I want to thank Fertility Kenya and Cecilia. This woman is something else. She drove to Mashinani, as I answer your question, and she drove with a number of her team, and they camped outside my clinic, you know, waiting for me, and seeing the number of women she had ferried to my clinic, and I was asking myself, who is this lady? And honestly, her work really speaks out about who she really is. So honestly, it's a pleasure to have us come and talk and honestly empower women. Laparoscopy Mashinani. Mashinani, we know, I don't have to explain. Laparoscopy, Dr. Murage has touched a little bit about it. It's something that is very passionate to me. So basically what that means is minimally invasive surgery. Instead of these very long incision women or men get to access the abdominal cavity to do operation, now we go in with a camera, small incision about 1 centimeter, and a few other 2 about half a centimeter, and we can perform almost every surgery apart from cesarean section that was done in open surgery. And the good thing about it is that you get to go home the next day. So, laparoscopy Mashinani. When we started this initiative, laparoscopy was only available in few hospitals in Nairobi, private hospital. Honestly, at that time, I don't think I could have afforded a laparoscopic surgery in Aga Khan Nairobi Hospital. The question therefore was, why is it that these procedures are not accessible to women in Mashinani? Only one thing. You want to guess? You want to guess? Somebody? Cost, money, exactly. And that was this, it was really not right. It was this. Without support of our friends. Okay, my topic today is something that is very dear to me, and please, I kindly ask you, just give me your 10 minutes. I'll try not to go more than 10 minutes because maybe this is the first time you're going to hear about this condition, and you will be surprised how common it is that it could possibly be sitting somewhere very close to you if it's not your neighbor, possibly your daughter. All right, can we load the slides, please? All right. And this is something Dr. Murage mentioned called endometriosis. How many of you, by show of hand, have heard of endometriosis? Endometriosis. Okay, excellent. Okay, so I'm actually preaching to the choir. Unfortunately, when we hear about endometriosis, we think about Jankokai. So next slide, please. This has already been mentioned. So a little bit of introduction on women reproductive organ. You have the uterus here, and the uterus has different lining. You have the inner lining here, which is called the endometrium, and this is the one that sheds off every month a woman is menstruating. And that's very important. When fertilization happens, implantation will then happen, and Dr. Murage has mentioned, then you have other different layers. So now, if you split into two, This is how it's going to look like. And this is a very normal organ. So you have the uterus here, you have ovaries, just the same thing, and bladder and everything. Can you see how close these organs are? From the uterus, this is the birth canal, this is the bladder, and this is the rectum. And this is how normal looks like. And Dr. Moraga has talked about laparoscopy. When we go in, next slide, this is how things are going to look like. Now, endometriosis. What happens with endometriosis? You're going to have tissue similar to the ones that are inside the uterus, the one I've mentioned called endometrium, similar to them, and they will start growing outside the uterus. That is endometriosis. I think some of you have heard about the story of Jambi Koikai, and I'm coming to that in the next slide. So anytime then you're going to have, and they can spread just about anywhere. Again, I was talking about that proximity. You can see this is the rectum. You see, this is the bladder. And these all together can fuse together. And in some situation, then fertility will be affected. Please, ladies and gentlemen, I kindly request you to listen to me because this is very, very important. Next slide. So, again, this is how, this is not a real image, this is drawing. So again, when you look inside, again the uterus, these are the ovaries, and sometimes the ovaries as well can be affected by endometriosis. Ovaries is the bud that carries eggs that the women will ovulate for the rest of their reproductive age that God has given them, and after menopause, then that story ends. So anytime you have damage to the ovaries, then definitely the quality and the number of eggs will be affected. That will result into affecting fertility. Next slide. So when we do, and I'm happy that I didn't have a normal slide on laparoscopy. When we put in the camera, I think Dr. Moraga had shown the one that had fibroids. This is exactly what we're going to find. I showed you, this will be the rectum. See how enlarged this ovary looks like. See the uterus, and everything gets fused together. Absolutely, this woman will be having trouble to conceive. This is a story. We sit in our clinic, a patient comes in, been in marriage, and I'm a Christian, and the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verses 28 says, and he blessed them, and he ordained them to go and fill the world. I see some of you are Bible readers. And fill the world. So actually, procreation was ordained by God himself. Don't be a preacher. So when we have this happening, then what it means, then fertility becomes a problem. I was giving a story, sitting in my clinic. A woman shows up in my clinic and say, Dr. Njagi, I have been having very painful menses, and I've been married for the last so many years. My husband has now started complaining, and we complain in very many various ways, including Madarao. And I really want to keep my marriage.